So thank you for being here this morning. We're going to make a little change to the agenda, and then I'm going to ask somebody to adopt it. We're actually going to move item number 3, the keynote address for Brewster, up to immediately after we adopt the agenda. And then we'll go to our old and new business. So if I can have a motion to amend the agenda as suggested and adopted. Lisa?
So moved.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. With that, we'll start a series of introductions. I always love the events where we introduce, everybody.
I'm going to introduce Mary Minow, who's going to introduce Brewster Kale. Most of you know Mary. She has been on the Library Advisory Board for Santa Clara County Libraries. She has been maybe are you still the president of Caltech? No. Caltech. She is a librarian. She is a lawyer. She works for Info People and does webinars on library and the law. She is a legal expert in libraries and my good friend. Also, the other thing I want to say about Mary is she's a newly minted member of the Institute of Museum and Library Services Board. Mary will introduce Brewster because she knows him a long time and I want to listen because I have to introduce him to ALA.
I do know Brewster a long time. Is this one on? I met Brewster in 1997, and he told me then about his vision for a universal digital archive on the web and a universal library. He's archived the web, and because of that today, we can go to archive.org and look at sites that change in character somewhat over time, say whitehouse.gov. His vision is inspiring, and he translates that vision into action. He teaches a large team of enthusiastic young people to scan, to post, to catalog books. The Internet Archive's Open Library was started with an LSTA grant awarded by the California State Library. It's up, it's growing, and it has a new in-library lending model. One of its first partners is the Peninsula Library System. And it's a way to lend ebooks from the library to the patrons without restrictive licenses. Without restrictive licenses. Yeah, I see some nods. Library patrons who enter a PLS library can borrow an ebook and they can read it on any device that supports a browser. Yeah. Any device that supports a browser. The model respects copyright. Books are legally purchased and authorized when the publishers and authors are willing. Older books are scanned under fair use principles. And the books do not disappear after 26 checkouts. As I say, books are available on all types of ebook readers. They work in common formats, and they include the DAISY format so that readers with print disabilities can use the device of their choice. In fact, they have a much broader selection of books for readers with print disabilities. Readers are not tracked. They're not tracked. So in the digital world, that's easier to say than to do. In fact, I happen to know a lot of libraries that say that we don't do that, but you have to make a positive effort to do that. And the Internet Archive actively removes the IP addresses of the readers who come into the website and deletes them because reader privacy is an essential part of its nonprofit mission. They're not using those records to be a cash cow for the operation. It's the exact opposite. How essential is reader privacy to the Internet Archive? To the moon, Alice, to the moon. The FBI issued a national security letter in 2007 to the Internet Archive demanding specific information about one of its patrons. And Brewster, along with important help from the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU, stood up against the federal government and filed a lawsuit contesting the national security letter as unconstitutional. And after a long, hard legal fight, during which the Internet Archive was under a gag order and couldn't tell any of us what it was doing or even alert the library community for help, the FBI finally withdrew its national security letter and lifted the gag. After it was all over, we found out about it, and last December, the California Library Association awarded its Zoya Horn Intellectual Freedom Award to Brewster. And today it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Brewster Kale to the PLP.
Well, thank you. I think we've got a path forward. I think that if we just stick to sort of what libraries do and say, hey, I don't think this digital thing is as different as they've all told us it is, we actually have a path forward. It's not exactly as great a path as it might be, that what digital could do, but I think we know how to go and build services that are very analogous to what it is we've done traditionally. What traditionally, we buy stuff and lend it out. That's what we do. So let's continue doing that. But you say, well, how do we buy stuff in this digital age that always comes with these lawyer agreements and crud and crap and whatever? Well, I think we have to act together a bit. In this country, according to OCLC, we are a $12 billion a year industry. About, as best I can tell, between a quarter and a third of that goes to publishers' products. So we're about a $3 to $4 billion a year revenue line on the publishing world. So why don't we use that and go and get some of the terms that we actually want, which is to buy things such that we can hold them forever and we can lend them out. Say, so what does lending mean in the digital age? And I'll go into that. But I think we're in a good spot for going forward. But it's a bit of a chicken and the egg thing. It's like, well, why are they going to listen to us? Well, money helps. But the other is we've got large holdings of our existing collections that we want to make available and that aren't available in the digital age. I think we can all agree that our job is to put the best we have to offer within reach of our children. That's why we're paid the big bucks. But we're not doing that. My children, at least, are using the internet sort of as their information resource. As if it's not on the net, it's as if it doesn't exist. So if our job is to put great stuff within their reach, and within their reach means being available in digital form, if we look around on the net, Wikipedia is terrific, but it's all pretty thin out there. Or where it is thicker, or where there is deeper resources, it's really sketchy. We don't really have the library online yet. And if we let this generation grow up without having access to, say, the books of the 20th century, we're going to get the generation we deserve. We're going to get a generation that's brought up on, well, whatever it is they could get access to at the time, which is more and more corporate. So we are here, we have a civic responsibility, and if somebody said, oh, we don't really need libraries anymore, I must have missed that memo. So I think it's our job to go and build services that serve our patrons well. And a lot of the corporate offerings haven't been quite where I think we need them. So the Internet Archive, working with a bunch of other libraries over the last several years, have been working to try to build a different model. So I'm going to present today, and hopefully in fairly short order, so that we can have a lot of discussion, an in-library lending model that would allow you in the short term to go and add 100,000 books to your library collection. But not only that, to sort of see a path forward on how to get millions of books, e-books, into your collections in such a way that they can be distributed on terms I think we may not be thrilled about, but at least emulate some of the past.